Christmas music? Whoa. December, whoa, this year just went by. And I slept through most of it, but hey. And it's 2019, decade's almost over. What am I gonna do? I wish there was like some sci-fi series I could do a top 5 on. I'm not really in the mood really to do another review. I said it's 2019. Yeah, it's the end of the decade. Let's do a decade top 5. And I've decided which one to do already. We'll do underrated movies. You know, the movies you generally just forget for some reason, even though they're extremely good. So, let's do it. The top 5 most underrated movies of the 2010s. Now, I talked about this film in my first ever face reveal video on this channel, so I'm not going to go too much into detail. The film obviously about the making of The Room, which is often called the greatest so bad it's good movie ever. The complete insanity really behind Tommy Wiseau's thinking. The fact that he actually bought all the equipment for his movie, which is kind of weird because even like professionals basically rent out their equipment. This film basically depended around James Franco's performance, and he was excellent. He brought a great Tommy Wiseau. I definitely recommend you to find this one. I'm surprised people haven't referred to it as the best comedy in the decade. This comedy basically lampoons and bashes Hollywood culture about the superficialness and the narcissism that basically goes into it. I also love the fact that the characters aren't characters, they actually go by their real names. Like James Franco is James Franco, Seth Rogen is Seth Rogen, Danny McBride is Danny McBride. You can literally make a movie really about the interaction between Franco and McBride. Some of the best moments of this film is obviously one of Michael Cera's death, as well as the eventual demises of McBride and Franco. This film is exceptionally funny. It shows exactly the moral depravity that Hollywood basically fosters. I recommend you go out and find this one as soon as possible. Once again, I'm not going to go too much in detail. I mean, after all, the dog did a review of this movie. Over the years, there's been plenty of animes that were turned into movies, usually non-canon, and are usually awful. I could barely recall one that's relatively been excellent. This one kind of surprised me. You know, after watching Steins, I figured, well, okay, this is just basically going to be fan service. I was surprised they actually continued the story. I mean, it definitely showed that even though they reached Steins Gate, they didn't necessarily reach the end of the story. I mean, you know, there's also lingering effects of PTSD that Okabe had to deal with. If I wanted a second season, this film would definitely be the storyline of a second season, at least under the current timeline. I really think this film was a film that went under the radar just because it was an adaptation of an anime. I don't know what people were looking for in a Tron sequel 30 years after the fact. I know Disney has released some big budget bombs over the decade, but this one was a gem. I don't know what critics were thinking. This was a good movie and a great watch. I particularly love how they evolved Jeff Bridges' character. about how he takes on a more Zen-like posture. I particularly love the fact they also brought in what is really man-made and when does nature actually take place? Because I mean, there's a lot of incidental inventions that just suddenly occur. This film goes in quite good detail about it. I really wished a lot more people watched this film, just particularly because it was a world that I love to explore. In a decade full of comic book based movies, this one seemed to be more grounded to a reality. I particularly love the grittiness of it, the realistic philosophy of it, as well as the fact it seems so small scale and yet so big at the same time. I love the fact that the filmmakers had a very limited budget and yet figured ways around it to make it look like the Avengers. The actors put off an excellent performance. For all intents and purposes, Karl Urban was Dredd. He had all the mannerisms and took the role extremely seriously. I really appreciate his performance. Also, the villain played by Lena Headey. And this is probably one of her best performances I've ever seen. She made a character that seems very realistic, very down to earth, and yet extremely frightening and terrifying to deal with. Story-wise, very simple, yet also very entertaining at the same time. I really hope people go out and watch this film now that it's out in Blu-ray and streaming. And there you have it. The underrated movies from the last 10 years. I'm sorry for the fact there was no humor. I mean, these were kind of movies I actually enjoyed watching. I decided to take a little more of a serious tone to it. But, I mean, let's face it, not really much humor really going around these days. Wait, what's that sound? I'm gonna go to the window. Oh my God, they found me. I don't know how, but they found me.